So start பண்ணலாமாங்க sir?
பண்ணலாம்.
Good morning to one and all. On the behalf of our Biochemistry and Mathematics Department, I welcome you all for our fourth FIP online short-term course on Biostatistics and R Programming. Today's session will be moved on with Dr. R. Jaishankar, Professor, Department of Statistics, Bardiyar University, Coimbatore, on the topic is visualization of data. Ma'am, over to you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So adaptability is not imitation. It means power of resistance and assimilation. A very good morning to everyone gathered here. I take this privilege to warmly welcome all our delegates and participants. On the behalf of DPT Star Scheme, Ratnavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science, Solur, organized by Department of Biochemistry and Department of Mathematics, welcomes you for the 10 days FIP online short-term course on biostatistics and R programming. Now, I call upon Dr. Palaniswamy, Senior Faculty in Mathematics, RVS CAS, to give the recap of day 1, 2, 3. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to one and all for the opportunity given. Today, let me share the first 3 days recap. So today is the 4th day of 10 days from 9 to 19 August 21 FIP online short-term course on biostatistics and R programming. Dr. R. Jaishankar, Professor, Dr. R. Muthukrishnan, Professor, are the resource persons from the Department of Statistics, Bardiyar University, Coimbatore. On 9/8/2021, the first day, inaugural function followed by technical session was conducted. Principal Dr. T. Sivakumar sir delivered the inaugural address and significantly spoke on the applications of statistics in the current pandemic situation. During the session, Dr. R. Jaishankar sir delivered an introduction over all impact of statistics in biostatistics, what is research, definitions, motivation, current research, criteria of good research, how to interpret the results appropriately, significantly, precisely, the meaning of population, sampling, types, size, social relevance, and cleared the queries posed by the faculty participants. Day 2, 10 August 21. Recap of first day was recollected. Dr. R. Jaishankar sir elaborated data, descriptive statistics, measures of central tendency, mean median mode with day-to-day usage, quartile deviation, range, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, including advanced current research levels, and interpret and interact with the faculty participants effectively, interestingly. Day 3, 11th August 21, recap of first, second days was done. Dr. R. Muthukrishnan sir was the resource person. During the session, he has delivered and impart hands-on training on R programming effectively. Then and there, interact with participants. Sir has expressed an introduction on R programming, comparison of softwares including SPSS, Excel, Python, how does it works, and more than useful than that of others. During hands-on training, download scalar, vector matrix, data frame lists, etc. was taught. He also forecast up-to-date version and current development in the field of R programming. He assigned the materials to be studied for the forthcoming sessions, including the information and forecasting of online assessment on the end of the day for effective capturing of the course on biostatistics and R programming. Thank you to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So without any delay, I would like to hand over the session to our respected chief guest. I welcome you, sir.
Well, yes. So, good morning, everybody. Last session was with a lot of hindrances during network issues, and I could not fully concentrated in the lecture. In between, say a lot of hindrances, both from the side of audiences and also from the side of say networks. So I thought because I was given the topic descriptive statistics on the other day, to go with descriptive statistics alone. But now I heard that there are many non-mathematics people are there, and therefore I want to a little bit show something else, and then again enter into the visualization of data. So what I have been telling you, about statistics, again I am telling you it is science about studying the variations. It is a science about data condensation. It is a science about inferential procedures and forecasting. Many things can be uttered for statistics and its scope. So on the other day, while I was seeing about data, I told one word. One second. So before I, hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
So I just coming again to the explanation of various data types.
Okay, sir.
I told you data is any information about a particular thing, any fact about particular thing. So initially, we can divide the type of data into two parts: qualitative and quantitative data. And while collection the data, we have two types: primary data and secondary data. Primary data are collected at first hand, not from the individual, collected at first hand information. Secondary data are the data collected for some other purpose and are recorded maybe. And if you utilize the data in our study, it is called secondary data. So naturally, how to collect the primary data? Nowadays there are so many methodologies which are available. Even you can collect the data from internet. That is called a secondary data. Or if you send the questionnaire to individuals and collect the data, it is called the primary data.
Sir.
Sir, please that yes, that is called the primary data. My screen is there or not?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Collection out. Right. And I wanted to tell one thing, that data are collected, and if the data are collected, we have a huge bunch of the collected data, maybe in the form of files. From the data, we cannot understand anything. So data are collected, maybe it may be so legibly, so rightly collected, maybe they give accurate information, but those data are not of any use unless we go something further. We described about descriptive statistics on the other day, that we condense the data in the form of single values like mean, mode, median, etc., etc. That is one type of data condensation. Before to that, I should have presented about visualization of data. Visualization of data is nothing but diagrammatic representation of data. So the data can be understandable visually or quantitatively unless the data has to be properly classified, properly tabulated. Then only we can make use of the data for further purposes. That I just skipped that idea and I directly went for explaining you about descriptive statistics. Nobody knows. Nobody has said something even in the beginning of my lecture. I told that if you find any difficulty, you can put it in your chat box so that administration can inform me about that. Okay, come to the classification of data. Data can be classified into various modes, based upon various modes.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Are you sharing any PPT, sir, now?
Yes, yes.
But we see only the desktop of your system, sir. There is no PPT slide, sir.
One second, please.
Okay.
Parvada. Why? Are you able to see, madam?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now
sir.
it is,
Okay. So before explaining about this slide, I would like to tell you that data has to be properly classified and tabulated for exploring further. So how the data can be classified? There are various bases for your data can be classified. One is called qualitative classification. It's a classification which is based upon equality. Those who are cued, those who are not cued. Those who are deaf, those who are not deaf. Those fruits which are red in color, those fruits which are not red in color. These are called attributes. These are called qualitative characteristics. So if we classify the data accordingly, then this is called qualitative classification. For example, if I want to test whether the recovery from corona is according to sex, I may divide the male patients alone. I may divide the female patients alone. If I want to check whether the patient with say additional comorbidity like sugar, BP, etc., are more vulnerable than the others. That is possible to classify the data into two parts: one who are having comorbidity, and another group who doesn't have any comorbidity. Right.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Your PPT is not moving, sir.
Visible now. நான் மூவ் பண்ணல.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir.
Sorry. Okay. Now, so I can classify the data accordingly. Qualitative classification. Quantitative classification means what? For example, I have students' marks. Based upon marks, I can classify them as those are passed, those are failed. So that is called quantitative classification. And another one is called chronological classification. So I can classify the data according to time. So 1976, this much of people are studying. 1977, this much of, that is called a time-based classification. That is called chronological classification, in other words. Fourth one is what we call as geographical classification. If you classify the data according to a geographical location, number of corona cases in Coimbatore, number of corona cases in OT, like that, it is called a geographical classification. Okay. Now, after properly classifying and tabulating the data, likewise, there are certain rules for tabulation of data. And after properly classifying and tabulation of data, then we will proceed our visual station of data or descriptive statistics, etc., etc. I'm just told these things as a nutshell because I have heard about say people from say science background are also attending this meeting. Therefore, I just told these things to you. So now coming to the today's say topic of our lecture, that is called diagrammatic and graphical representation of data. And what is called graphical representation? I am just representing the data in the form of graphs. My main aim is to understand about the population or the data collected from the population. By some means, I want to have an understanding. Therefore, having descriptive statistics of all the observations is one way of understanding the things, and visualizing the things is another way of understanding the say population characteristics. So the data may be presented in the form of diagrams and graphs. Okay, just one diagram is enough to represent a given data more effectively than 1,000 words. For example, which district has highest corona, or what is the rate of say testing and affected. So nowadays people are even in the TV itself, they are showing graphs. In 27th this much, 28th this date this much, 29th days this much, increase 10%, then increase to 12%, like that, no? So instead of showing actual say people are affected with corona, they are used to tell everything in a summarized form, in a visualized form through graphs and diagrams that everybody would have seen in the TV news nowadays. Okay. To understand diagrams, even ordinary people can understand this bar is higher, this bar is lower, therefore this is higher, like that, and ordinary people by merely see, even those who does not know anything about number or illiterate may also understand the things. So what is a diagram? It is a visual form for presentation of statistical data, highlighting the basic facts and relationships. Okay, if the diagrams are drawn on the basis of data collected, there will be easy understandable, and appreciated by all. These are the advantages of diagrams and graphs. So these are the significance. They make the data simple. They make the data intelligible. They make the comparison possible to save time and labor, universal utility. They give more information. They have a great memorizing effect. So what I am showing you about statistics, not exactly in terms of statistical diagram, but some diagram I am showing through which we can easily understand than reading the books fully, like that, All right. Now, how to draw a diagram? There are certain rules are there. Should be neatly drawn and highlighted wherever it is required. Geometrical figures should be accurate, and the scale should be mentioned in the diagram. X-axis, Y-axis should be mentioned in the diagram. These are the common thing even layman may know about the rules for drawing a diagram, and these are the type of diagrams in general. Though it appears it has 4 or 5 divisions, it is easily understandable only. So they are called 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and pictograms and cartograms. Why can't you accept for 4-dimension, 5-dimension? That is not possible nowadays. And, maybe you may see computer diagrams which are coming with so many dimensions nowadays. But as far as statistical diagrams are concerned, only 3 dimensions are there. So line diagram, 1-dimensional diagrams. So in such diagrams, only 1-dimensional measurement is used. For example, it is called line diagram, simple diagram, bar diagram, subdivided bar diagram, percentage bar diagrams. These things are called 1-dimensional bar diagrams. For example, what is the line diagram? So line diagram here, the number of children in the x-axis, frequency, number of families, for example. Number of family is, say for example, one child is in 14 families, 2 children are in 8 family, etc., etc. These things are, say, drawn by a line. This is called a line diagram. This is 1-dimensional diagram. Next one is simple bar diagram. So you can draw this either horizontally or vertically. Bars must be uniform, and the width of the intervening space between bars should be equal. So I can highlight the bars to enhance characteristics. So what is this? In 1991, protection is 40 plus. So in this diagram, 45. In this diagram, I am just representing this diagram with a bar. Even by just looking into the bar, I can say that what is the year? 1994 has highest protection. So even without looking at the figures, actual figures, that is the advantage of seeing or drawing a diagram. And there another one is called multiple bar diagram. This bar diagram is used for making comparison between 2 particular things. For example, I may compare the expenditure of a male student with an expenditure of a female student. I may compare the expenditure of, say, a family with 5 persons or an expenditure of a family with only 2 persons. So like that, I can make a comparison. I can make a production of Maruti Suzuki car company with, I can compare with Honda India company. So for that, I may have bars which are adjacent with each other. Therefore, the adjacent bar will give you the right picture of which is higher, which is lower, in which year also. And there, another thing is called maybe These things are very elementary. Those who have studied BSc statistics or one paper in statistics might have seen all those things. Of course, since you have not practiced often, those things may be forgotten nowadays. So this is called the subdivided bar diagrams. So your bar is subdivided into various parts of proportion to the values given to the data, and the whole bar represents the total. For example, I am spending my income to various categories like family, say clothing, education, house rent, etc., etc. So the whole salary constitute a bar here, and this bar is subdivided according to the house rent, food, clothing, etc., etc. This is called subdivided bar diagrams. Okay, if I make the subdivisions as percentages, that is called percentage bar diagrams. So instead of having individual, say in the previous example, I have individual expenditures of family A and family B, like that, So instead of that, here I have percentage of the actual quantities. So the upper limit will be 100 only, because of it is a percentage. So how much of percentage is spent for food, spent for fuel, etc., etc., can be shown here. This is called percentage bar diagram. Now coming to the question of doing with two-dimensional diagrams. Two diagrams are what? The area represent the data, and so the length and the breadth have both are taken into account. Such diagrams are called area diagrams or surface diagrams. They are rectangles, squares, and pie diagrams. So what are rectangles? They are used to represent relative magnitude of two or more values. So the area of the rectangles are to be taken care while making comparisons. So rectangles are placed side by side for comparisons. Okay, now we'll go an example for that. In that example, we may see the same data, same kind of data which was shown previously for expenditure. So I am just having a rectangle for this. It is a subdivided percentage rectangular diagram. A family which is having income 0 to 5,000. Here, next family which is having 8,000. So the total income is represented in the x-axis. Therefore, both the height and both the width plays a role while making comparisons. This is called a rectangular diagram. And the squares. So what are squares? So like this. USA, Australia, UK, Canada, India. See how we are making the squares? By seeing the actual figures, they are converted into square roots of the actual value, and side of the square in centimeters represent these squares. So from looking at the squares, one can have an idea about which is larger, which is smaller, like that. And also we are familiar with the pie diagram that is everywhere, most frequently used. So things are converted into 360 degrees. Like percentages, we convert everything into 100. For this pie diagram, we convert the things into 360 degrees. The total thing into 360 degrees. Each category, how much degree is contributed by each category is drawn here. So Cuba, it carries 134. Australia carries 102. India carries 76. If I draw a circle and notify each country separately by its corresponding degrees, it is called pie diagram. So In this era of computer, we may change the direction, we may rotate this pie diagram like a say coconut bun like that, and they are presenting with various colors, many things, okay. Now, there are another thing is called three-dimensional diagrams. It consists of cubes, cylinders, spheres. These diagrams are rarely used because understanding these diagrams for a layman is quite difficult when compared to the previous diagrams. But we are also having this three-dimensional diagrams. So here three things are essential: length, width, and height are taken into account. Of all figures, making cubes is easy. Side of the cube is drawn in proportion to the cubed root of magnitude of data. Cubes of figures can be ascertained with the help of logarithms. The logarithm of the given figures can be divided into 3, and the antilog of the value will be the cubed root. So here is data which is given, and instead of taking square root for rectangular square diagrams, we are taking cube root of it, taking 1 centimeters as 10 cube root, and we have 4 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 2 centimeter diagrams. In this example, undergraduate, postgraduate, professional degree. So undergraduate students are more admitted than the postgraduate students. So its cube is larger than compared to these things. So pictures are not abstract presentations such as lines or pictogram. Now pictogram, what are pictograms? Pictogram are not abstract presentation of such as lines, bars, but really depict the kind of data we are dealing with. For example, a layman example. How many of you have used public toilets? In public toilets, how many of you have used public toilets? Almost all of us might be used to public toilets. In the entrance, what will you see? There you can see something is written male, female. Not only they have written as male and female, they used to draw the picture of male and a picture of female. What for it is? Even a layman who is coming with the urgency of urinating, just see the picture and he can go. That is called the pictograms. That is called pictogram. Now, they are represented by the pictorial thing, by a picture that the actual data represents. For example, if the data is about car production, the bars are represented as cars. Like that, those things are pictogram. Cartograms are statistical maps that are used to give you quantitative information as a geographical basis. They are used to represent spatial distributions. So what is that? We have the map of India. We have the area which is more affected with the dengue. So such diagrams give you a picture of the geographical location in which more risk of dengue occurs, for example. So that is called cartograms. So these things are called statistical diagram. Nowadays, the thinking of pictorial representation of data is getting demonized, but it gets attraction to various categories of people to know more about a particular phenomena. In the news channels, they use tabulation, and after tabulation, they use graphs to represent which is higher, which is lesser, and in which date it is higher, how many people are tested, for example, with corona, how many people are tested and shown positive. So all these things are represented as a graph. Therefore, the graphic representation is also important for describing a phenomena. That is also a one part of statistics. I told you the definition of statistics may be classification, collection, classification. In some books, they would have written and presentation through the form of tables and graphs, and analyzing the data and getting interpretation out of the data. So those things are called say different categories of statistics, and we will look after. I think the program coordinators are fully gave all the parts of statistics to be explained in this 5 days of my lecture. So I just try to explain all those things. And again, I'm telling you, if I want to particularize a particular thing, then you can ask me. But in particular, next class will be, I think, on statistical inference. There may be test of hypothesis, both in parametric and non-parametric test hypothesis. I do not know whether 1.5 hours will be sufficient for explaining all those things. Yet I'll try to do it. Okay. Now coming to the question of graphs. Graph is a visual form of the presentation of statistical data. What is the differentiation between graph and diagrams? Diagrams also represent actual representation of the data. Here, we are representing the data which are classified according to say frequency distribution, etc., etc. These things are called graphs. So we are able to draw a graph from that, a curve from that, or a line from that. That is called. That's why it is called graphs. So the first kind of graph, perhaps I might have told you about during quantitative classification. In the beginning of my lecture, I told quantitative classification. Quantitative classification is further divided into 3 categories. It is based upon values, actual or numbers. And the 3 categories, I mean that the data which are not at all classified. If you present, for example, here, the example was given as daily wages. So if I present the data as such, it is called raw data. If I classify the data like this, 0 to 50, 50 to 100. So if I classify the data like this is called frequency distribution. In particular, this is called continuous frequency distribution. In certain cases, for example, I may have class, say, a number of families and a number of children. Number of children won't be more than 5 nowadays, Therefore, here also, number of children, number of family. So here also we have only 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, that is called discrete frequency data, discrete frequency distribution. Whereas this thing is called continuous frequency distribution. The things like this is called continuous frequency like this, distribution. So what this is one form of tabulating the data, one form of condensing the data into tables. So instead of, for example, here instead of showing all the workers data, I just condense the data in the form of this table. Like classification, the problem of tabulation is having so many rules behind it. But explaining all those things would be time consuming, therefore I am skipping it. And what is this histogram? First, histogram graphically represent the frequencies of a frequency distribution. What is frequency? Here this example. Number of. If it comes number of, that is called frequency. There is no connection between this frequency and electronic frequency. Not like that. What this means? 0 to 58 means 8 people are obtaining wage between 0 to 50. That is called frequency. 8 is called frequency. This 0 to 50 is called class. Okay. So this is called histogram, and if I join the midpoints of the histogram, then this is called frequency polygon. Frequency polygon. If I smooth this frequency polygon, then it is called a frequency curve. Even in this diagram, the curve is not properly drawn. Maybe if it is, this curve is smoothed by a graph, then it is called one second. Okay, if this curve is smoothed, not into zigzag movement, then it is called a frequency curve. It is called a frequency curve. These things are coming under descriptive statistics, used by descriptive statisticians, but this has a specific role in statistical inference also, while defining a normal shaped curve or a normal distributed curve, distributed observations. So these things are frequency curves. And another thing is called ogives. Ogives are also called cumulative frequency curves. What are cumulative frequency? If I accumulate the frequencies according to the maximum or minimum number of, say, number in the classes, then it is called cumulative frequencies. There are two types of ogives are there. One thing is called less than ogive, and another thing is called greater than ogives. Don't think that these ogives are not seen by you. I'll tell you later where we can see these ogives. Now coming to this example. So they say it may be taken as marks. Between 20 to 30 is 4 persons are there. What will be below 40? Below those who are having this below 40, figure below 40 means frequencies below 40 means I have to add up 4 plus 6, 10. Below 50 means I have to add all these three frequencies that will give you the value below 50 or less than 50. If we draw curves for this, this is called less than cumulative frequency curve or less than ogives. Contrarily, if I draw a curve like this, more than 20, more than 30, more than 40, etc., etc., if I find the frequency for those things and draw the curve, it will be called more than ogives. It will be called more than ogives. Right. Less than ogive, more than ogives. So it is seen there. The lower limit is only 20. So below 20, no, all the fellows, no fellow has obtained below 20, but above 20, all these fellows would have come. All the frequencies would have occurred. Therefore, above more than for less than ogives, we have instead of ogive, we may also have the less than cumulative frequencies. Less than cumulative frequencies. And for more than ogive, we have more than cumulative frequencies. Okay. These things are very, very simple. I do not know whether Zahar has taught these things yesterday or not, but these things are very, very simple. Okay. Okay. Now, if I draw the figures for this cumulative frequencies, then we have the curve like this. Less than cumulative frequency, more than cumulative frequency. More than 20, all would have obtained more than 20. Less than 20, the data starts from the even 20, then it is called less than frequency 0. Therefore, less than the frequency, in order to differentiate between these two, oh guys, they have drawn in different colors. Have you anywhere seen these curves? Have you anywhere seen these curves? Cumulative frequency curves. Cumulative frequency curves. If you could, anybody remember, then I'll be happy. Any answer? Are you listening? Are you hearing? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have any of you seen these figures? Not in X and Y axis.
Yes,
How many of you watching are in the habit of watching cricket?
yes, sir. Score,
Yeah, yeah.
bowling score will get. Bowling score.
Yeah, no, not bowling score. The runs obtained in every over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they used to represent in the form of ogives only. So one team will go like this, another team parallelly goes like this. So who is getting rise, who is getting lesser? If there is a wicket, they will represent that wicket by a ball drawn instead in between the graph. So particularly less than ogive. For they have shown, they used to show the number of runs scored by each team by less than ogives. If there are wickets, they used to represent it by a ball. Diagram of ball. So these are ogives are also used nowadays. And another thing is Lorentz curve. Perhaps this Lorentz curve is highly useful in economics rather than biostatistics people. So this is used to say study the distribution of wealth and income, variability in the distribution of various characteristics, etc., etc. So it is used to study the inequality in the distribution of income and wealth between countries at different periods, like that, So it is a percentage of cumulative values of one variable in combined with the percentage of cumulative values in the other variable. So area, number of companies here also number of companies are drawn here, given here, and profit earned in thousands. This is what we call it as discrete frequency distribution, like that, 5 lakhs for in 5,000 profit is earned by 7 in area A. So the same amount of profit is earned by 13 companies in area B. So I find cumulative profit, cumulative percentage of the profit, and if I draw that figure, it will be like this. This corner line, 45 degree line is called line of equality distribution. We could be able to see, though it is like ogives, we are actually drawing the percentage of cumulative frequencies here, maybe percentage ogives. So what in area A, equally distributed. That is, what is equally distributed here? Profit is equally distributed to all company, but there is some differences here. Here also, area B, it is worse because it is far away from the line of equal distribution. So this is called Lorentz curve, mainly used by economists, so to see the proportion of people living under poverty line, etc., etc. Okay. Any doubt? Please ask me.
Dear participants, kindly ask your queries.
If there is anything.
So nothing in your chat box. Sir.
Yes. All these things are very much, simple, yet they are powerful. Powerful statistical tools. As the sir will explain you about this visualization through R programming. 1 second, please.
Sir, hello, sir. Sir, good morning, sir.
Tell me. Yes, tell me.
Sir, how to decide how to decide that this technique should be we use?
How to decide?
This technique, Lorentz technique should be used.
I couldn't understand. Lorentz technique.
Sir. So,
that
yes,
is
sir.
mainly used for deciding income distribution of people in economics. Because it is also included in the form of graph, I just noted this. Yeah, I think if I am not
so whatever you said
I may go to a.
Yes, sir. So whatever the example you have given with related to the cricket, it's very good because we are comparing the two matches. I mean, for example, between Team A and Team B.
Yes, yes.
So we are comparing it. About,
Yes.
How much at the 12th over, how much they scored, and what is their score presently, and this is very good. But in the same way, where we can use it in other purposes.
I'm just I have to think about an example in biostatistics because of this session is with the biostatistics.
Yes, yes.
Because it is involved in the
sir.
syllabus, involved in statistical graphs. I explained that. I have to think about what is the distribution. Maybe I do not know exactly what is the distribution of say maybe different blood categories may have different.
Sir, can you use this graph to compare the students' scorecard? Because in the previous semester, this is the progress of this student. Is it possible?
Equal distribution of marks to various subjects. That is possible. Distribution distribution of income. Whether the students are equally having marks in all the subjects like that, I think for that this graph may be drawn. Maybe I may not be knowing whether the people of microbiology must help me. But anybody is there? Is there any differences in the blood groups with reference to the RBC, WBC counts, etc., etc.? Anybody from microbiology or biochemistry?
Sir, otherwise, sir, we have, in general, we have one more example. If I'm not right, please correct me if I'm wrong. Because when we evaluate the faculty members year-wise, because they will teach the same subject. Okay. For example, statistics, basic statistics they taught for this semester, and next year also they will teach the same subject. Can we compare the performance of the teacher with this graph? Is it possible?
So, who will judge the judges? Students, naturally. That depends upon students' bias also.
Based on their, we will take based on their marks and performance of the student. We will take the feedback and all. So is it possible like that? Because in the last semester, because you have given the real-time example with you compared with the cricket match. So instead of taking team A and team B, so previous year subject and same faculty is there, and this year subject same faculty. So is it possible like this?
One thing must be taken care of because work are drawn only to represent the frequencies, not actual values.
Okay.
Frequencies. That's the main difference. We can't draw a figure like this. Right. Now I'll show another example. Thank you. I will show another plot called Whisker plot, box and Whisker plot. It is also there. Are you able to see slides or only directory? Hello?
Only directory, sir. Directory.
Only directory. Okay. I'll do it. I think now you are able to see the slides. Are you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. There is another kind of plot which is called box and whisker plots. And do you know the meaning of whisker? Whisker means the mustache which we have. The mustache. The box and whisker plots are mainly plotted to see whether the data consists of the values which are outliers, the values which are strange to occur, the values which are very rare to occur. On the other day, I told an example of an outlier that a bike manufacturer is recording the average mileage of the bike by means of taking a sample of certain bikes, for example, 10 bikes, 15 bikes, etc. When it may happen that some bikes may give you very high fuel efficiency, maybe 100. Some bikes may give you very lowest fuel efficiency like 10. In that situation, he cannot claim that it occurs once in a while. Say, for example, in while examining 1,000 bikes, it occurs only once. So in those values are called outliers. That outliers or dealing with outliers is the specific area of research by Dr. Muthukrishnan, who is going to teach you about R programming. In that, he will be telling you about robust procedures, statistical procedures. So, like that, how to identify outliers, that is done by this box and whisker plots. What is box and whisker plot says? So this plot summarizes data using median, upper and lower quartiles and the extreme values. I do not know yesterday whether how many of you have heard about median. Median is the value which divides the dispersion into two equal parts. Yesterday I told an example. Whether you have noticed or not, I do not know. Again, I am telling you, data are collected, data are placed in your table in the form of files, etc. I want to know certain characteristics of the data. What are the characteristics? Something like that. Suppose I am appearing for a policeman interview for a police personnel. What they will measure me during the time of examination? Measure from me. Yes? What they will measure from me? The length of the hair? Height and
weight.
Weight. Maybe chest expansion.
Yes, sir.
Why can't the hair? Length of the hair. Why can't the length of the finger? Why can't it be size of the belly? We have so many measurements in the body. Why they are measuring only height and weight?
Because median is the positional average. You don't.
No, that is different.
Yes.
Just to come to this question.
So that is not needed.
Body mass index, sir.
Body,
There is a proportion between weight and weight.
This body mass index, why it is observed for a policeman? I am telling you, maybe this is not direct example. Yeah.
Sir, length of the hair and length of the fingers do not decide the strength of the person.
Yes.
That do not
Sir,
have any
In
influence.
other words,
Yeah.
these things are called
Physical fitness, sir.
parameters for physical fitness. You understand? Height and weight are parameters for physical fitness. Not exactly the parameters as we are observing in statistics, but they are parameters, unknown parameters. Like that, your data may also have certain values which are called parameters. So mean is one kind of parameter, important parameter. Variance is another kind of parameter, important parameter. So in order to measure the parameters, we have so many measurements. Maybe even in this class, I am just refreshing last class. So there I told you a median is the value which divides this distribution into two equal parts. It's called median. So the box plot taken care of median. And remember, I told you quartiles are like height and weight like that. No, here we are having quartiles as one quality of the one characteristic of the dispersion. So quartiles are the points which divides the dispersion into four equal parts. Q1, Q2, Q3. They usually represented by these letters. So based upon all these values, then Q2 is nothing but our median. Remember, Q2 is nothing but our median. Therefore, based upon these quartiles, one can draw box and whisker plot. So this is based upon 5-number summary. One is the median, first quartile, third quartile, maximum value and minimum value in the data set. Okay. Now, how we are drawing it? Like this. Lowest value, starting from the lowest value, another from lower quartile, median, upper quartile, highest value. So the plot should be drawn in this manner. These two ends, see these two ends. These two ends are called whiskers, like your mustache. Therefore, it's called a box and whisker plot. Okay, through this, how can I identify? So take these numbers, order these numbers from the lowest. Okay, find the median here. Okay, find the lower quartile. What is lower quartile? Median divides the items into half, 50-50. First quartile divides into 25, 75. That is the value corresponding to n plus 1 by 4th position. N plus 1 by 4th position. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 numbers are there. So 16 by 4. Fourth item is the first quartile. 16 by 4 means n plus 1 by 2, the formula. So lower quartile, like this, upper quartile, 3n plus 1 by 4. So minimum and maximum value. Taking care of these the 5 values, so I may draw the quartile, box and whisker plot like this. Highest value is 100, lowest value is 20. So lowest quartile, median, upper quartile. What they show? They show the median score. They show the skewness. I'll tell you what is it. They will show the dispersion. Okay. Essentially, they show outliers in the data sets. Points which are outside of 1.5 times of the interquartile range, which is given by this formula, is called outliers, or can be specified as outliers. Interquartile range is nothing but Q3 minus Q1. That is called interquartile range. Okay, this is the last class I wanted to tell you about. I'll finish up the things left over in measures of dispersion in the last class, so that tomorrow's class maybe start as a fresh for statistical inference. You may see about dispersion, which I shown in the previous class. Again, I'm telling you what is dispersion, like height and weight of a person or a group of data. That group of data which is called dispersion. Mean is called one parameter which represents how much all the values in a dispersion are centered, in a data group are centered of. This is called measures of central tendency. We have seen so many measures there, but the important is mean, mode, median. Since mean fulfills majority of the quality of a good measure of central tendency, it is admired by many scientists than median and mode. Even it is the case, I told you, I tell you that this median, the situation plays the role for deciding which kind of say measure of central tendency is to be taken. Okay, it is called measure. And another measure like height is not only sufficient to measure physical fitness. So weight is also plays a role. Like that, for a data group, I told you measure of central tendency alone does not say specify the complete data. So I told you one example, maybe some of you are remembering that examples of 3 cricket players, one who have obtained 0, 100 in 2 matches, another 50-50 in 2 matches, 25-75 in 3 matches. When in 2 matches, the third fellow, if you consider average alone, all these averages will be equal, yet they are different. For that purpose, I must have another measure that is called measures of dispersion. So last class we have seen what are they. They are like say range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, standard deviation. These are the main the main say divisions in measures of dispersion. As I have been telling you, these why they are not one, they are different because they are occurred at different occasions. And I told you about relative measures. What are the relative measures? When we want to compare the dispersion of 2, then I make use of relative measures. These relative measures are based upon range, the measures of dispersion, observed measures. Therefore, they are called reserved relative measures of range, relative measures of quartile deviation, relative measures of mean deviation, relative measures of measure of standard deviation. But the relative measure of standard deviation is called coefficient of variation, which is mostly used to compare 2 different dispersions. For example, when I want to compare the say marks of women students with the marks of men, then men may have different average, women may have different average, but while making comparisons, I should take care of both measure of dispersion and both measures of averages. So, for example, the relative measure taking account of these 2 things, as I told you yesterday, the coefficient of variation is given by sigma x by 100. So it considers the measure of say average and measure of variation. Okay. So this is another measure. If 2 fellows, now we are not potentially making use of this measure of variability. Perhaps in the except the research papers, they may have given like this measurement plus or minus something, plus or minus something, plus or minus. What is that plus or minus? Plus or minus standard deviation, plus or minus standard deviation, like that. They used to represent in the data in that manner. But I told you that in that example of cricket man, 3 fellows are having same average, but not same measure of dispersion. They are different measure of dispersion. Like that, two different dispersion may have same average, same measure of dispersion, yet some difference is there. That difference is measured by two kinds of measures called skewness and kurtosis. Skewness and kurtosis. I think majority of the people who are attending our classes are from Tamilians. Previously, used to say we used to ride bicycles. My schooling days was spent with bicycles only. Nowadays, we are using motorbikes from the childhood itself. So that was a good exercise to us. If anybody have used bicycles, when we give the bicycle for service, particularly what that shopkeeper, that serviceman will tell you about your if the shape of the wheel is tilted, what he will tell you? In Tamil?
கீழே விழலன்னு சொல்லுவோம் சார்.
என்னங்க?
எங்கேயும் இடிக்கல, கீழே விழலன்னு சொல்லுவோம்
இல்ல
யூசுவலா.
இல்ல அந்த வீலை சர்வீஸ் பண்ணும்பொழுது the serviceman will utter the word கோட்டம். கோட்டம் இருக்கும்பாங்க. So come to the example of coconut. If some coconut, when you break it, they are rotten or they are not in shape like that, அதனால கெட்டு போயிருக்கும். அப்ப what the people will tell you in layman villages, அது பேரு எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு அது கோட்டாங்காய்ம்பாங்க. So there was
not in perfect shape.
We used to think that because of a bird called kotan was sitting in that coconut, it becomes like that. So it is not connected with the kotan and kotam. Kotam is a measure which measures the symmetricity of a particular item. Here also, skewness means lack of symmetry. In Tamil, we call it as kotam only. So it is, for example, look at the both sides of the wings of this butterfly. They are similar in nature. They are symmetric. Like that, I told you when I explained about frequency curve. Frequency curve, if it is a bell-shaped curve, remember, if it is a bell-shaped curve, then if I draw a middle of line between that curve, in the midst of the curve, then this side will be equal to that side. So if the frequency curve is like this, then both sides can be equally splitted. This is called symmetry. Symmetrical distribution. Now think about that curve to be so skewed. So the skewness can be measured two types: positive skewness and negative skewness. For a symmetrical distribution, this curve will be bell-shaped. Why? Mean is equal to median equal to mode. Remember the definitions. Mean is the average, right? Median is the value which divides the dispersion into two equal parts, all right? Mode is the value which according to high frequency. Remember, to understand this, you just assume that some bars are written here. Frequency, say in histogram bars are here. So then only you can easily understand this. Histogram bars are here, like that, right? So what is right skewed? Like that. Right skewed means what? Suppose we are taking class. All the students are getting, majority of the students are getting less than 50, etc. Only few are getting more than 50. Then this phenomenon occurs. Positively skewed. Like that, negatively skewed. All are above average, above 80%. Then we can get, when we draw histogram and draw frequency curve, we may have a curve like this. This is called a left skewed person. Okay. One thing I want to, okay, I'll tell you next later. This is called skewness. How this skewness can be measured? There are two different formula. One is called Pearson and another one is Bowlish measures of skewness. And of course, this Bowlish measure, the Karl Pearson measure is based upon moments. The mean, it is given by mean minus mode by standard deviation. Karl Pearson measures the skewness by mean minus mode by standard deviation. Bowlish measure is based upon quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, which I told in the other class, even this class also. This is another measure. Here, look at this. This gives you 0. Therefore, the distribution is symmetric. So, it's positively skewed, negatively skewed. Here also, the measure of skewness based upon moments. That I should have told you about moments. So, forget about this. You are not required to that much extent. Okay. We are looking the data skewed right and left while measuring skewness. The data or the curve of the data is skewed this side or that side. That is called skewness. Now, we are not thinking about the vertical change made in the frequency curve or the curve of the data. So, the vertical change is represented by kurtosis. So, what is kurtosis? Kurtosis is a measure of bulginess or a degree of flatness or peakedness in a region about the mode of the frequency curve. This is the definition. So it refers to the degree of flatness or peakedness in the region about the mode of the frequency curve. So look at this. For a normal curve, I told you it must be bell-shaped. Even that bell-shaped may be determined by this height also. So what is this? This red color, this green color curve is a normal curve. Then this red color curve is higher than this curve. This violet color curve is lower than this normal curve. The curve which is lower is called platykurtic. Higher than the normal curve is called leptokurtic. So here, instead of seeing the sides, we are seeing the heights only. So flat shaped curve is called platykurtic, and the peaked curve is called leptokurtic. It is in between. The normal curve is called mesokurtic. Therefore, these are the three types of things. This kurtosis can also be measured using, say, using the moments only. Therefore, that will be a huge formula to measure this kurtosis. I skip it. It is not required for use. So, like height and weight, etc., etc., the important characteristics of the data is measure of, say averages, measure of dispersion. Those are the most important thing. If I want to go further, I can measure skewness and kurtosis. Normally, we are not using it in real time data. Suppose two persons are coming with the same amount of marks. If at all the admission is given according to the percentage of marks, if two fellows are coming with same percentage of marks, then one would you prefer? Who would you prefer? We can make toss a coin and find who will be preferred. Normally people ask higher capitation fee. Those who are having higher capitation fee will be preferred. Now, in legal sense, the one who is having the lower standard deviation has to be preferred. So standard deviation must also be considered for selection. Even that, I think that is even for selection engineering and other things, people are not employing that standard deviation technique. Maybe I do not know in future whether they will be measuring it or not. I do not know. These measures may seeming to be simple. Yet they are potentially used in various say, fields of science, and beyond the standard deviation or beyond the measure of central tendency, we have the one which is called kurtosis, and the another which is called skewness. Okay, any doubt in it?
Sir, shall we say the kurtosis is equal to corona now, sir? If it is three types, sir, that is platy and mesokurtic.
Means what? I do not understand.
Sir, actually, இப்போ kurtosis நீங்க அந்த மூணு இது சொன்னீங்களேங்க சார், leptokurtic and mesokurtic and platykurtic. Shall we combine with the real life example, sir?
Real life example, now I told you about these things are concerned for frequency distribution, not number.
Okay, not numbers. Okay, okay.
Frequent numbers may be taken as frequencies, but I may have, for example, I may have a frequency distribution of age. I can do it. Age and a number of persons affected with corona.
Yes, sir.
So it is a frequency distribution. So whether I may have a normally shaped curve or skewed shaped curve. So in previous corona situation, we were told that only those who are above 40
Yes, sir.
are getting affected much than those who are below 40.
Below 40, yes, sir.
I was I felt sorry when the people are saying that in news, 45 வயது முதியவர் கொரோனாவால் மரணம். In that word, even the 45 years old people are yes, okay. So like that, nowadays, type 2, that is the present form of corona. There is no, it doesn't have any description of age. So it affects those. So this has to be decided. The things concerned with corona are to be probed much more deeper than other things. But remember, I used to tell always my students in biology, one word is important. Everybody is different. Every body is different. Even if you take a sample of twins, they are different. Why this fellow who is having say 90% saturation is living, but another fellow is having 92% saturation is died? Nobody can decide why it is. Then yet the scientific proof into life is so vast, and yet the devices are to be devised to identify the causes. Yes. I remember why without statistics you cannot do anything. But simply people making use of statistics for money, and they are given the data without anything, and he finished some tables and graphs. I went to one college for an inspection for a certain thing, There came a commerce man who did the PhD in some company. He took a sample of 50 employees from male, 50 employees from female. So his data is only of 100%. So he did some test for equality of proportions. So like that, he writes in our company, it is seen that 50% are male, 50% people are female. Actually, he took only that only. But in degree, I told you should not write like this, because your sample even consists of 50 degree in that, 50% male, 50% female. Therefore, actually they are equal, but not necessarily it is to be there in company like that. No, sir. The person who did analysis have finished for the say for more than 10 fellows. Therefore, he wrote the things like that. Then I couldn't able to correct him. Like that, the things are going and showing the tables. People are believing that it is a good statistic. Nobody verifies what it is. Yes. People from biochemistry and microbiology are also there. I think I heard. they always have a fear over statistics. But many fields which are untouched, called survival analysis, that is rarely used in India nowadays. The present research interest is of mine or my students. I gave the topic of identifying the vulnerable area, geographical locations for dengue, like that. But as it is impossible for me to obtain the data for anything, even for research purpose, there is a delay in that research, like that. There are many things to be spoken of when we think about various statistical analysis, but these are very, very basic things, like ABCD of our English. Any more questions, sir? Yes. If there is I could not see any question in the messages also. So, yes.
Yes, sir. Almost over, sir. Questions.
Okay. If there is no questions, shall I wind up the class now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. My hearty welcome to Ms. D. Parvadavartini, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, RVS CAS, to give the oath of thanks. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kavirasi ma'am. A very good afternoon to one and all present over. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked hard to make this FIP success each and every day. I, on behalf of the management and the entire fraternity of the Institute, first of all, my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's event grand success. I, on behalf of the Department of Biochemistry and Department of the Mathematics, I thank management, Principal Dr. T. Shivakumar sir, Vice Principal Dr. Ayapada sir, Star College Scheme Coordinator Dr. S. Dhanapalan sir for giving permission to conduct the FIP. A special thanks to Dr. S. C. Palniswamy sir, Mrs. Shamina ma'am and Ms. B. Indumati ma'am for arranging this 10 days FIP on biostatistics and art programming, which is the most needed topic for the research scholars today. Thank you, ma'am. I, on behalf of the management and the entire fraternity, give a heartfelt vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. R. Jaishankar, sir, Professor, Department of Statistics, Badya University, for sharing his valuable knowledge on visualization of data, though in his busiest schedule. Really, we had an eye-opening session on data visualization. Thank you so much, sir. A sincere thanks to all the participants who are patiently moving with us and for providing support to run the FIP in success mode. I thank all the technical people and the media people of RVS Siragugal for their wonderful support. Thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Respected faculty members, kindly please fill the attendance link and the feedback link before leaving the session. I'll repeat it again. Respected faculty members, kindly please fill the attendance link and feedback link before leaving the session. Thank you all.
Ma'am, feedback link is not